Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to Slang of Ages Podcast. And today I have a very special treat. You may remember last year, last March, I spoke with Dennis Atlas of Toto. We talked about assuming the keyboard role, one of the keyboard roles in Toto, but also talked about his wonderful album, Magical Wonderland. Today, though, almost a year later, we get to talk about Principles, Dennis's new album. Dennis, how are you?
I'm doing good, Preston. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic and I'm really enjoying Principal. Well done. So let's just jump into this. And I know you're on tour now with Toto. We may talk about that in a second. But when did you find the time, given your schedule, to start Principal?
Yeah, that's a good question. We have the perfect balance in Toto land where we go out and we get the touring, we hit it hard, and then we come home for sometimes a couple months at a time, and it's kind of just the right balance. But I also was able to write a lot of these songs out here on the road. I bring a little MIDI keyboard with me, and some of the ideas, the seeds get started out here. I remember right around the time we were talking last year. Actually, when we went on that Europe run. I was writing a lot of these songs from the hotel room and from backstage during the backstage hang at the Toto concerts. So definitely, definitely the influence from this music was all encompassing.
Yeah. Some wonderful arrangements, great writing, and some great playing, most of which is you, but you have some guests on as well. So you started writing last year in terms of the process. When did you start recording Principal?
Well, thank you. Yeah, the recording. Let's see. That really was mostly over the course of 2025. So yeah, I mean, basically over the last year and a half, all this stuff was recorded, and mostly around the time that it was written. A lot of this was written and recorded very close to that same time frame. Some things were written previously. There were certain ideas. There were some songs that I had written before, and I thought would be a good match for this album that came from years prior. But for the most part, all of the writing and recording took place over the last year or so.
Talk a little bit about the recording process. Did you do that on the road as well, or did you do that at your home setup?
No, just about everything was recorded at home at my studio, or, uh, well, in the case of Shannon, he has his studio in
Yeah.
Tennessee, which is just incredible. His drum sound is like no one else. And I mean, let alone his drumming, his pocket, and just everything he has going. So he recorded his drums at his studio, but we were remote, but we were online the whole time communicating through SessionWire. So we were actually there going through each thing bit by bit, note by note through exactly what we wanted to make this thing. And but yeah, the my parts were recorded back home at my studio. We recorded Luke's solos at Trev's house actually, so that was fun. And yeah, Warren came over and recorded at my place. Joe recorded his vocals at his studio. So yeah, it was all done in studios. There might be a part or two that lasted from something I came up with in a hotel room on my MIDI keyboard. I mean, that's very possible. But for the most part, everything was done neatly and with plenty of time, and with with all of the proper tools in place back at the studio.
Shannon Forrest, who's on the road with Toto now, is an amazing drummer, obviously, but he's a wonderful producer and engineer. And I had talked to Steve Picaro, I think it was early this year, maybe last year, about Steve's album, where Shannon was involved with that as well, and how he was able to pull those drum parts together. And here on your album, on Principle, it sounds as if you two were in the room together. It melds so easily. It's so perfect.
Well, we really were in the room together, even though he was in Tennessee and I was in LA. We really, it was a moment. It was a bonding moment for me and Shannon, because there were some songs, and I came to him and I told him at the beginning. I said, listen, sometimes I write very specific drum parts, and
Mm.
it can piss a drummer off very easily because you want to come up with your own parts, and I get that, and I want to hear all of your ideas, even if I am set on something. I want to hear if you have another idea of how you think it should go. Let me hear it. But I have these parts written exactly on some songs. On some songs, I don't have anything in mind for the drums yet. I just want it to support what's already there, and I want you to come up with something, or I want us to come up with something together. And then there's everything in between. There's some songs where I have a basic idea of the drum part, but you can go off of it from there. In all three cases, he just completely nailed it. Just completely just blew me out, blew me away. Just blew it out of the water, and knocked it out of the park. So we stayed up real late tracking this stuff, and I was kind of starting to fade off, going like, oh my god, we're going late on this right now. It's like, I'm good, let's keep going. And he's out there doing this. If you've ever sat behind a drum set and played drums, you might know how physically demanding the instrument is. It's even more than what it looks like. I mean, I play drums, but I did a set one time where I played drums in a band for 45 minutes. And I'm a keyboard player, so playing drums for 45 minutes was no small feat. And my God, I walked off that stage like, here Shannon is recording my songs all day long. We did most of them in the same day, and then a few of them on another day. But oh my God, he just pounded away at it, and what a hard worker, and what a guy he is. Because that was incredible. He just kept going at it, and it was a moment for us. We really, it was like we became brothers in that time and came up with this cool thing. And on When the Monster Attacks, that was one where I really didn't have a part in mind beforehand. So I let him really just sink his teeth into what that song meant to him, and he just made it what it needed to be.
Okay, Dennis. So you mentioned When the Monster Attacks, and I wrote in my notes after listening to the album and working on my review of it, uh, dark, dark. What is this song about? And slightly unhinged. So since you mentioned it, what is it about?
What's it about? Well, I love answering this question, and I also don't like answering this question because because I think you get it when you listen to it, you want it to be about what it is about to you. But really, that's right. I mean, that's what this song is. The monster is different for everybody, and you could listen to it literally and say, "Oh, is it a monster attacking a city or people, or what's going on here?" And really, it comes down to who's your monster, who's attacking you. And I wrote this song very much looking out at somebody else, or other people, and watching the way they're so easily manipulated into changing who they are from the outside in, thinking that if I get this thing, if I manipulate this situation, if I change my body, if I do this thing or that thing, then I'll be happy, when really happiness
Mm.
comes from within. And it's manifested, and it's continually built from habits of how you behave, and how you treat yourself, and how you look at the world and think, and your spirit. It comes from within your spirit. And there's always someone out there to take advantage of this tendency that we have to think that it's out there somewhere. Our happiness is given to us from the outside,
Mhm.
to think that way. And so the song was written looking at other people. And then when I listened to it and I finished it, or when I finished it and then I listened to it, I realized it was really autobiographical. And every time I listen to the song, I'm reminded of where I think someone else is in control of my happiness, and then has control over me. And I recognize that monster attacking me. I recognize the trait within myself, which is really what I think is important, because that's the only reason that that wow, I think I just came across a philosophical idea here that I may have to think through. But now that I say it out loud, it's almost like that's why we're given this means of judgment, that we're told not to judge other people. But really, there's a part of us that has a tendency to do that, and it's really only as a mirror to reflect on, where do you see that within yourself. So it really is not about the judgment of anybody else, but about recognizing where I find it within myself. So that's what I wrote When the Monster Attacks about. But really, like I said, it can really have a meaning that's different to anybody who listens to it.
It's a fantastic song lyrically. Your vocals are always amazing. And this album
Well,
also
thank you.
very varied too. But the this it's just you and Shannon. I mean, you're handling the bass, guitar, and keyboards. He's doing the drumming, but it works so well. I love that song.
Well, thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, that song in particular, that was really just me and Shannon. There was a lot of guests throughout the album, and it's funny how it becomes when you look at the back cover. It's like it becomes this whole list of names, which is funny because the songs didn't start that way, and over the course of the 45 minutes, 48 minutes that the album, the duration, it doesn't feel like it's constantly in your face. Oh, this guy, now that guy, now that. It just feels like an album. But when you actually see all the credits and it all adds up, it's like, wow, there's a lot of people that made that album what it is. And it's fun to talk about all of them because it really is.
Yeah,
It's a
we can talk
combination of
about
all of that.
some of them. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Paul Rogers album that Billy Sherwood produced called Muddy Waters Blues. It's a tribute to Muddy Waters. It was
I should
probably
check that
20
out. No,
years
I
ago.
I actually haven't checked that out.
Yeah, it's Rogers. It has he handles the rhythm guitar, Pino Palladino on bass, and Jason Bonham on drums. Billy Sherwood produced it, but he brings in guest guitars, and the guitars almost over. I'm not sure overpowers the right word, but they take some of the shine away from Rogers. But this album, your album, Principle, it is well cast in terms of who you bring in, and it is. I think you're exactly right. You have a lot of names here, but it's all you. It's amazing.
Well, I have a huge sigh of relief as you say that because that was a big hurdle. Well, not a hurdle, but just a big. That was that was something I didn't want to screw up in this album because, as you talked about, I had an album out before, My Magical Wonderland. I played everything on that album, and when I listened back, I was like, well, that's really cool. I was able to put across everything that I wanted to do exactly how I wanted to do it. But then it was like, next time I want to get some people on board to really take this to the next level. And now I was in the perfect position to do so because I didn't just land in a band with a bunch of great musicians. I landed in a band with a bunch of great musicians that have big names that'll help promote the album, that wanted to help promote the album and help support it. And they just so happened to be the guys who were on all of these big hit albums from the 70s and 80s, not just Toto, but all of the other albums that they've played on as session musicians. And so I had access to them and I went, this is perfect. So the casting was a big deal. It was like, well, I don't want to just have guys be playing something just to have them on it. I want to still play all the stuff that I can play. And only when I come across a part that someone else could execute better than I could, that's when they're going to play that. So I
Oh,
really tried to leave those moments open for that, and not just arbitrarily. Let's have this guy play that, even though I could. That's like that doesn't really do anything because there's plenty of things I can't do. There's plenty of things that, yeah, if you would put me behind the drum set, I might be able to play a few things, but nothing like what Shannon Forrest or Marco Minnemann could do. And I definitely couldn't have come up with the guitar parts that Steve Lukather came up with on those two songs. I mean, it, I really wanted to use each voice for what that voice could authentically bring to the album.
so you talked about your production for this album. Has your writing changed since my Magical Wonderland? Your process?
Well, I would say, yeah, in many ways the process hasn't changed because I really just try to be open-minded to let the song unfold to me the way that it needs to unfold, and I get in touch with what it is that I'm trying to say or what it is that I think is trying to emerge from my spirit, and that part hasn't changed. What has changed is that I've grown a lot as a person and I've
Mm,
experienced so much more, and I hope that that continues to grow and change. I never want to put out the same album twice. So
mm.
in many ways it's completely different because I'm in a completely different place and I have completely different musical influences well, I shouldn't say completely. I have all of the same influences as before, plus completely new ones that I hadn't even dove into at that time yet. And I'm hoping on the next album I will have a whole other set of musical influences and new things and new experiences to draw from. So, in many ways, it's very different. I think stylistically, when I finished it, I went, wow, this is a very different album. And then I played it for a couple of people. In fact, I was playing it for Bumblefoot, for Ron Bumblefoot Thal. And I was in the car with him, showing him some of the songs right when we finished them. And he was going, well, actually, I can still tell it's you. It still sounds like the same you as the first album. There's a lot that is very much in common. It's just it's just new. So there's an element of both, that's for sure. There's a surprise element that sounds very different from the first album, but it's still very recognizably what I love about music. And I think the people who know me and who know my personality can still sense it very, very heavily on the album.
I would agree with you. Absolutely. There was one song I was listening to. I wonder if I wrote it down, where I was thinking, this is like a stick song from that album that he mentioned in the last interview. It'll come to me. If I may, though, can we dig into some of the songs? Some of the songs.
Yes, please, sure.
So let's start with the first single, which I believe is "Surprises from Within," which has Marco Minnemann in it. Is that it? No,
Yeah,
Violent. No, I'm sorry. Violent Power
right.
has Marco Minnemann in it.
Well,
So let's start with
surprises.
that.
Yeah, so it's funny you mentioned both of those because they kind of run together, not literally, but the surprises kind of sets up Violent Power,
Okay.
and they both have Marco on it. So I I've always loved Marco's playing and just how energetic and raw it is. So and I just love him as a guy too. I've hung out with him on several occasions, and we've geeked out over our fandom for Queen and Rush. So that's fun. And of course, his band, the Aristocrats, is incredible.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so yeah, I actually co-wrote Violent Power with a good friend of mine and Marco's, Steve Bonino, who was in the cover band that I played in, the Trip. And Steve came over and he helped me finish out the ideas for Violent Power. I kind of just had a start for it, and he really helped turn it into a song. And we came up with that chorus together, or he probably kind of came up with that chorus, and I added some lyrics. But that all came together, and he suggested, why don't you have Marco play on this song? And I was like, that is an idea right there. That's a good idea. So Marco plays on Surprises and Violent Power, and it just sets up the album with a really high energy, in your face kind of, this is what it's all about, and it's a call to action. And again, a lot of these things that I talk about are spiritual and energetic in nature, which makes that call to action a call to action from within. Surprise. Well, I guess that makes sense. The title, surprises from within, and Violent Power, because it's really violence and authenticity. Both either start honesty. They all start from within, and then it turns into something in your life in a way that you can't always predict, but you know that if it comes from an authentic place and it comes from an honest place, it's going to manifest in your life in a way that reflects that. So that's really what those songs are about, and really, really coming from the right place, which is why it makes sense to open the album with that, because I think that's what's important, is where we're coming from in life. And I wanted to set up the album that way, because it's like, I want you to listen to this album coming from the right place. So let's talk about that. And there's Surprises from Within and Violent Power.
It's a great start to the album. It's a powerful, ballsy start to the album. Steve Bonino plays bass on Surprises from Within, along with you playing guitar and keyboards, and Marco, as we mentioned, playing the drums on both those songs. Um, Most of the bass playing in this album is you, but there is a
Correct.
liner note where you talk about, I think it's Jake thanking John Pierce,
Yeah. So John is credited on the album as bass advisor.
bass advisor.
Now, the story behind this goes a little along with what I was saying before. I wanted to invite everyone to play on the album, and I had an idea for a song for everyone. And I came to John and he was like, "Of course, I really want to play on this album for you, Dennis. It'd be my absolute pleasure. I love you," and all of that. And something came up. He had someone coming to fix the faucet, or I don't remember. It was something like he had a plumber or a landscaper or something coming over that day as an emergency, and his wife had to leave, and it's like, "I'm sorry, can we do this another day?" And then the same thing happened, and it was like, he's not the flaky type. I mean, he's like, he's a true pro, but it was like something came up, and he was like, "Can we do this?" And then when we talked about it again, he comes to me and he goes, "You know what? I listened to these songs, and I want you to play bass on them." He says, "I'm going to make a producer decision. You're going to play bass on these two songs." And by this time we were already on the road. And
Wow.
And he's like, "You could just take my bass from backstage and you play bass on these songs. My decision as a producer," he says to me. And it kind of came back to the idea, because he's going, "You know exactly what you want to play on these songs, and you can play it. Why are you asking me to do it?" And I was like, "But I want your energy on the album." It's like, "Tell you what, you can credit me as bass advisor." And that's how that came about. He's now John Pierce, bass advisor. And man, his contribution was huge, because guess what? I was able to play what I wanted on those songs, and I was able to play it on his beautiful Music Man bass, and his energy
Five
is
string.
on there. Yeah, his energy is on that album via bass advisor, and I love John Pierce to death. I mean, he's just the coolest, the coolest guy, and I just that's the story behind that. Maybe I should have kept it a little bit more mysterious, but there it is. There's the entire thing.
I'm sorry, James. I had to ask because I thought I don't see Pierce playing on this, and the bass parts are fantastic. It's like, oh my god, man. Well, okay, now I know. Thank you for that. So, next song that I have on my list to ask you about is "Scare Me," which features Steve Lukather on guitar solo. You play almost everything. You play everything else.
Yeah, yeah, that's a song. It's just me and Luke, which was really fun. It was really cool, and he came in and nailed that guitar solo. What was really fun was I had an opening for a guitar solo on Games and on Scare Me, and I was trying to decide who was going to do which one, because I knew I needed to have a ripping guitar solo from Bumblefoot, and I needed to have a ripping guitar solo from Luke. And I could almost imagine Luke on Games, and I could imagine Bumblefoot on Scare Me. And I thought, I'm going to do it the other way around, because I can't imagine it that way.
Oh,
And so I brought Scare Me to Luke, and Luke and Trev were sitting there. We were in Trev's studio, and it got to that point in the solo, and we're like, "And here." And Luke started playing to it, and it was like, there we go. That was that other element that I couldn't quite imagine, and it pulled it in a different direction. And he plays this melodic thing over it it's almost like, because of his background, just understanding jazz and all of these different funk and all of these different styles, over this straight ahead rock song, you hear all of those different influences over it, and it just gives it this really well-rounded thing. So yeah, I love the solo that he played on that, and it was just so cool of him to do that. And then of course he also played on Candy on Mars, so that was
yeah.
yeah.
And we'll get to that one. That's wow. But I do want to ask about Games because I met Bumblefoot, I think, once when he was with Asia. It must have been the Festival or something, and I met him off stage. And I was amazed. I've heard of him. I heard some of his music, but I was floored by his playing. I had no idea.
Yeah.
So unusual, the fretless guitar thing. Anyway, but his performance on Games is mind blowing.
Yeah. Yeah. As soon as I heard that, I just jumped up and down. I just, man, it was like, he's the kind of guy where I use the word understood the assignment. And it's like he just gets into something and he knows what it needs, and he just, yeah. What can you say about Bumblebee? He's a master, and everybody's blown away. That's the reaction that we all have every human being who gets to witness Bumblefoot play guitar is exactly what you just described. You're just floored. You just go, how does anybody accomplish anything at that level? And here
Right.
he is. He's just guitar genius, and the solo starts out so singable and becomes this total, and it still is, but it becomes such a in your face shreddy kind of moment over this melodic pattern, and I what can you say? It's Bumblefoot. It's really, he really lifted that song to a new level. I'm so grateful for it.
And Games is, in my estimation, a pretty complex song. You have a lot going on there. The vocal intro is mind blowing. Oh, it starts off. It also features again Shannon Forrest on that. We talked about Bumblefoot, Joseph Williams. But can you talk a little bit about your vocal approach there and why you decided to do what you did beginning
On games,
on Games? Yes.
yeah, games was. It's funny you mentioned that because the originally I had a different melody in mind for that song. That was one of the ones I wrote while we were on tour, and it was influenced by some of those bands that I really hadn't ever listened to before these last couple of years, and I started to kind of get into this more rhythmical thing that slowly builds over the course of the song, and then it kind of cuts to
Mhm.
another style. And I just, as soon as I started playing that, I was like, I need a really solid drummer foundation behind that. And Shannon came on board and did that. And then I wanted all of these cool details. And I was actually playing it for my friend and singing him for Steve Bonino when we were writing Violent Power. And I was playing him games, and I had this other vocal melody for the verse. And it was a little bit more monotone. And he was like, that doesn't work. That's just not it. And I was going, you're right. It's not happening. And one day, I'll never forget, I was in line for Ghost Rider at Knott's Berry Farm, the roller coaster. And I'm standing there and I go, da da ga da ga da ga da bo do bo do da 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 bo do do. And I hear do do do. This super low thing, and I'm like, that's it. That's the melody for games. And I did a voice memo on my phone, and I couldn't decide which octave to put it in because, as you hear, it's very do do do. I'm like, I'm not going to be able to sing that live. And no no go down down. I'm like, well, that's not low enough. So I wanted to have both. And once I recorded both, I was like, but my voice just it isn't strong enough down there. And I called Joe because what people don't know about Joseph Williams is that not only is he the high tenor singer of Toto, he's got the strongest bass voice of anybody I've ever met.
Oh, get
he's
out of here.
he's incredible on the low bass notes. I mean, low. And I sent that to him. I was like, "Can you sing an octave below me?" And he sent it back, and the file was called Joe's Lows. So he sings the low part in the verse, and he sings the low part in the chorus, which isn't really low, but it's the lowest of the three harmonies. But in the verse, it's that low do do do, and wow, yeah. As soon as I heard that again, just big giant smile on my face, and hearing our two voices together that blend, it was so fun to put that together, and that's how that came about. That verse melody, which totally just I think that turned the song into what it needed to be. And then, yeah, little details got added along the way. Paich played on that song, too. He added some keyboards that just kind of lifted and sparkled out the whole thing and made it
Mhm.
what it needed to be.
Yeah, I was listening to it. And I saw Joseph Williams' name there. And I thought, I don't know what he's doing here. What part did he play in this?
And now you
So
know.
now I know.
Yeah.
So I'm going to jump to the next song, which is Instincts. And I have on my notes. I'm sorry, is it Instincts? Is that the next one? Yeah, I think it's Instincts. And I said, is that Paich on Fender Rhodes? It has Trev Lukather on guitar too. And then you have this wonderful synth work by you. Talk about Instincts for me.
Instincts was, let's see, that was a song that originally was sparked again on that Europe tour where I was backstage and I started coming up with some ideas for something that I thought would be a fun cross between pop and rock and a little bit of prog. And I thought, how could I wrap this up into a nice box that would be just really fun to listen to with a big heavy chorus, singable chorus there, and a few different parts. I like songs that have different twists and turns and different parts that happen quickly enough to keep your attention and that have something to do with each other, but they pull the song each in different directions, and then you kind of can't wait for that part to come up again. So that was that idea. I had that guitar riff and that synth melody that goes over it, and for some reason, with my limited abilities on the guitar, I just wasn't able to make it speak the way it needed to. And I asked Trev, who mixed the album, I asked Trev if he could play guitar on that song because I just had an idea. I just had a feeling that with his feel, he can make it work, and he totally did. He used these very particular effects on his guitar that he's known for, and just the way that he played it was very strong. And then I knew he was mixing it, so he has that kind of producer mindset where he knows where each thing needs to sit in the mix and where they need to complement each other. So he played guitar on that, and lyrically, it's about being in two places uh, philosophically. It's about inner conflict and about dilemma, because I think people misunderstand this concept of principle and think that means you always have to be right, or that means you always have to know everything, and it doesn't. It means it's about being honest with yourself and about recognizing where your inner dilemmas and conflicts lie, and being patient and understanding and owning those things and saying, this is who I am, and that's what I'm going through. So Instincts is a song about that, about when your instincts are out of line with something you know about the world, and when your instincts are pulling you in a direction that might be dangerous, and you're having to deal with that dichotomy. So that is very real. I think it's something we all go through, and that's what that one was about.
Great. I think I marked that as my favorite song on the album.
Really? Well,
Love it.
thanks. Cool.
Yeah, I love that one. Okay, I'm gonna next song is Different World, which is just you and the piano.
Right. That song, I I'm gonna just recite what we decided to write about it as the write up when it gets put out on the streaming services. It'll be the second single after Violent
Okay,
Power,
great.
and Steve, our manager, asked me just come up with a little blurb about each song. And what I said about this one is really, I, I'm gonna just quote it because it's like this is what I have to say about the song. That song, I don't recall ever writing Different World. It was like it was just it just fell into my hands like it came from a different place, from a different world. And it's about this girl who had changed my life forever, and whose support and love deeply changed who I am as a person, and influenced so much of what my life is now about. And yeah, this song it just flowed into my hands like I never wrote it. It came from a different place, a different world, like perhaps she did too. And there you go. That's what I could say about the song. And when I played it for her, she I was originally intending to add more to the song. I was thinking like
Mm.
I won't hold you back, Toto. I was thinking big arrangement, guitars, strings, horns, something. And she said, "Please leave it just like that. Leave it just piano and vocal." And I played it for Steve Bonino, my friend, when he came over and co-wrote those songs. He said, "Leave it. Don't touch it. Don't touch that song." And yeah, so that's it. That's the song. It's Different World, about Ashley, and it's just piano and vocal and honesty. That's just what came out.
And that comes across, Dennis. It really does. It's I think it'd be a perfect single. So I'm glad that's going to be the second single from the album.
We have a
It
music
works
video
really
coming.
well.
We have a
Oh,
music video coming
fantastic.
in
Mm.
just a couple weeks here.
Yeah, is this going to be another one directed by Joseph Williams, or yeah, someone else to it?
Well, no, this one I have another guy who shot this one. We'll see. We still have a couple weeks, so there might be some elements added, but Joe will be featured in another video that's coming up too. So in games. So games Joe has a part in that music video too.
Right.
Different world at this point. No, but you never know before things come out. Things sometimes go over little shifts and things like that. And I always show stuff to Joe, and he has input on things too. So just as
Great.
buddies, we like to, hey, what do you think about this and that, and so you never know.
Good stuff. So I want to run through the last few songs because I know we're running a little short on time. I want to jump to Candy on Mars. And I wrote my notes. That bass part, Jesus, that's very funky.
Yeah.
This one you can co-write with Steve Lukather.
Yeah, so that was one of the ones that actually existed a few years ago. That was one of the ones I didn't really
Oh,
write in 2025, but Luke added his part in 2025. Or I came up with some other part. I mean, I added to it, and then Luke added that section, and that's how that came about. But the basic foundation of the song existed before then, that funky bass riff. And to be honest, it was one of those, I was like, who am I going to get to play bass on this? I was like, you need someone like Geddy Lee or something, like a really good funk bass player or something. And I went to Guitar Center and I saw this Ibanez sitting there on the wall. And I went, that's my bass. That's mine. Because it was bright
four stringers
orange.
or five string.
A 5-string. I was looking for a 5-string bass. And I was like, there was all these other fancy basses around that are thousands of dollars and all this, jazz bass, Fender jazz bass, all the things that everybody loves. And I saw this Ibanez Geo. It's like a $250 bass.
Oh,
And I said, that's mine. And I played it. And what I did is I played the riff on each one of these basses at the store. And I was like, it sounds the best on this Ibanez Geo. That's the song. I mean, the other basses sound phenomenal. And I would love to buy those basses one of these days. But when I played it on the Ibanez, I went, that's the song. I'm listening to the song come out of this amp right now through this bass. And I just went, this is it. So I bought the bass and I said, I could track this. I could make this happen. And it's going to take a really good bass player to play that part live. But I was able to get it down in the studio.
uh, uh,
And yeah, and Luke added that section to it that really, oh my gosh, when he I could play guitar a little bit, not like Luke, obviously, but I could play. And what I did is I went back and I tried to learn that part. And I'm just going, how does someone just come up with this on the spot like that? And that's what he did. Is after we finished the Scare Me solo, I said, you want to play on one more song? And I played him this part, and he just came up with that. It was like 2 takes, and we used 1 take for the first time it happens, and the second take for the second time it happens in the song. And man, how does someone just come up with a part that groovy and that fun and singable and everything? There's the power of Steve Lukather right there. So it really has that. It has Shannon's groove on it and has me playing bass and synths and I added a little bit of guitar and some other parts, and that was that. There's Candy on Mars.
yeah, it's great. Thank you. I want to ask about one more song. I'm going to skip to Save It for Tomorrow. Great proggy feel, some great bass playing again by you. I think it has some Greg Philliganes on it. Was he
Yeah.
playing organ on that? Or organ synth
What
on
was
that?
Greg
Or was
doing
it
on
you?
that? More of the organs were more me. Greg added some piano and he added some
Okay.
synths and stuff like that to it. I kind of brought it to him almost done, but not done. And I was
Mhm.
like, can you help me finish and polish this off? And so by the end of it, we added all the bells and whistles with Greg. I was like, you got to be on this album, man. And he was like, all right, let's hear this song. And it was great. It was a really good moment because Greg has a really, I almost don't want to say this because it sounds a little like pompous or something, but he's just got a really sophisticated palate in all styles, in every way. When it comes to food, when it comes to the style of clothing he wears, when it comes to the stuff that he's into, the movies and films and music, for sure. He's a very classy guy, and he knows jazz, he knows classical, he knows funk, and he knows the real stuff. So when he heard my version of funk, jazz, whatever the heck Save It for Tomorrow is, that came from me growing up listening to Styx and Queen, which isn't exactly what the real jazz funk guys consider real jazz and funk. he was kind of laughing at me like, "What is this?" And I could see it, and I was, we were teasing each other, and he was teasing me about some sixth chord that was in the song that he thought was a little cheeky. And Luke came in the room and he's like, "But I like it. I think it's cool. It's like Dennis meets Michael McDonald." And that's the funny thing, is that it's like, this is a song I never would have written a couple years ago. I think at this moment it's the song I'm enjoying the most listening back to on the album, because it's something that I never would have written. It's like my silly idea of where all this Toto music came from. It's like when I'm just now getting into the surface level of all the stuff that they love, and I know that Luke loves Miles Davis, and they turned me on to Earth, Wind, and Fire, which of course I was familiar with, but now I'm digging more into and listening to Steely Dan and all that kind of stuff. This is like, after listening to that for just a little while, somehow this is what popped out of my playing, and I just had fun with it, and I just played this song, and that's what came out. And Warren plays his sax solo on it, and it's what a solo, what a moment. So yeah, it was kind of a fun moment with the band, like hearing this is Dennis's interpretation of what all of this jazzy, funky kind of rock stuff sounds like to me. And I as you see, I can't take it too seriously, but it's like, this is me. This is a very genuine place. This is very genuine to where I'm at this moment in my music, and I think that is a big statement on the album. Save It for Tomorrow.
Absolutely. I wrote, it was probably the most proggy, song on the album. A lot of great elements there that come together really well, Dennis. So I know we didn't talk about all the songs, but I want to ask you, is there anything else that you want to cover before I ask you obligatory Toto questions?
I feel like we covered most of them, and that's pretty darn good, I'm very glad to have talked. Anytime someone's asking me about my musical compositions, I'm going, "Really? You want to talk about that? Okay, let's go." So I'm good, I'm happy. I think that's great, and I'll talk about Toto all day long too.
I do want to ask. I didn't ask about Roger Atlas. Who is Roger?
That's my brother. So
Okay.
my brother played on "We Can Be the Future," which is the last song
Yes,
on
the
the
last
album.
song.
And Roger and I had a band when we were teenagers, or I was 12 and he was 16. We grew up together, and he influenced so much of everything that you see about the musician I am now is so much influenced by my big brother, Roger. And he's not really pursuing music right now, but man, his musical mind and his guitar playing, it's just different. He just comes from a different place with it. And so my parents and my big brother were a big influence on me, and I just really wanted to at least have him have a moment on the album. So he plays on the chorus of "We Can Be the Future," and it's just fun to listen back and know that there's my big brother. And one day, hopefully, we'll revive some of those songs from our teenage band, because it was no joke, man. It was it was good stuff.
And on "We Can Be the Future," is that acoustic piano you, or is that Paich?
Oh, that was a combination. Yeah,
Okay.
there was some of that piano that Paige played, and then some of it was me.
Yeah, fantastic way to end the album. Anything else you want to talk about in terms of principle?
I'm just, I'm excited for people to hear it. It's already out on the merch booth, so some people
Yeah.
already have heard it. But it officially comes out in May, and I'm just excited. You could pre-order it right now. It's on the website, and I'm just excited to get this thing off the ground. And let's hope we get to the point where we're playing it live at some point. And I'm just happy. What can I say? There's principle for you guys. I hope you enjoy it, and let me know what you think about it. If you love it or you hate it, leave comments.
And I'm excited. I'm excited because I love the album, but I'm excited also that there'll be physical copies. You can, like you said, you can buy the CDs in a merch booth for Toto shows, but also it'll be on vinyl, which I'm
Yes,
very
yeah, it'll be
excited
my
about.
my very first vinyl release ever.
Yes.
So you get them
Yes.
now. You'll be getting the first of my vinyl ever on any album, any band ever. I mean, this is the first time I've released anything on vinyl, and go grab it now, and you'll have the
Yeah, I'll be
first
waiting
issue
by my
ever.
mailbox for that. I'm looking forward to it. So, Toto, you're doing the tour now. I think it's An Evening with Toto, which is all
Yes.
Toto music. Big change from last tour because members have changed slightly. How's it going?
Oh, it's just a blast, man. It's so great. We really enjoy this evening with setup because it just means that we get to dive into some of these deeper songs. I was having fun. I've always been, some guys look at sports stats and talk to each other about the game last night and what the points were and all of that kind of stuff. I'm the kind of guy where I look at set lists from all of, like, what did Dream Theater play last night? What did Styx play last night? What did Kansas play? And I'm always looking at setlist.fm for the set list. And so I'll do that after our shows. I'll look at the Toto set lists on Setlist FM, and I'll go, "Hey, look, we played that." It's like, well, I know because I saw the set list on stage when we were playing it, but it's still fun to look. This is what it looks like on paper. I've just been a set list guy, and when you see the pie chart that it creates on that website for the set list, you'll see that we're playing from, what is it, 13 different albums on this set.
Amazing, amazing,
And it's perfect because
man.
it's like there's a few songs from each of the biggest albums, and then there's one song from each of so many of the other albums. Not every single one of the other albums, but almost all of them. And
Yeah.
it's a very widespread set from all of the different eras of the band, and it's just a true blast and a true treat to be able to play all of this music. And as I've said in so many interviews, I've just become such a fan of the band, especially in the last couple of years, just diving more into what the band has always been about. So now getting to play those songs, it's such a blast.
I mean, I've seen Toto hundred times probably. I've never heard Endless done live. Never.
It's been a long
Um,
time, right? I
oh
mean,
my God,
what a blast.
man.
Yeah, and
So
that's a I look forward to that song every night. I mean, for obvious reasons, but also just it's such a, I mean, what else sounds like that? There's something just so Toto-esque about that song that is so fun to hear. And it's like we're not in any rush playing these shows. We're just, hey, we're gonna play this song, we're gonna play that song, and then by the end, everyone's on their feet and playing and it's clapping along and singing along to the songs that they know. And our new guy on piano, Ray Thistlethwaite, my goodness, this this guy. I mean, trust me, we were all like, "What are we gonna do when Greg left?" Uh, Purely for family reasons, and we totally understand that and support that. Um, he's got two really great little kids at home, and
mhm.
we totally understand that. And uh, but man, Luke texted me one day saying, "What do you think of this guy?" And he sent me a video of Ray, and I was like, "Whoa, okay." But I had no idea until I met the guy just what a guy he is. He's so chill. He's so fun to hang out with on the road. He's got all these kind of quirky interests and hobbies, and his piano playing is just on another level. It's so fun to listen to him solo every night and just play through all the songs, and it's just fun to share a stage with Ray. So glad to have this new blood in the band. It's really been great.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate your time. I know you're busy. You're on the road right now, and by the time this video comes out, Principal will be out. I encourage everyone to
Oh,
buy the
great.
physical copy and check out Dennis's website as well. So much good music you have done, and I certainly appreciate your solo stuff. I appreciate what you're doing in Toto and keep that legacy going. Dennis, anything else you want to add before we hit end?
Just come out and see Toto, and we're gonna rock and roll. And thank you so much for your time. Thanks for checking out the interview, and thanks to you, Preston. This is really a wonderful thing.
Yeah, I appreciate you, Dennis. Good stuff. I'll see you soon. Take care.
All right, thanks, Preston. Bye.
Bye.